Or what has been the most difficult part for you so far?
I think learning to grow with the business, learning and wearing new hats. While I'm at heart a software engineer, I don't really code anymore with like at all really, because I would just be getting in the way. We've hired people that are way better than me, and I don't have the time to focus on that entirely. And so I would just be taking tickets and taking too long to get them done, and like blocking the progress and stuff like that. And so I've had to, learn to wear new hats, and I've also just been spending more time on the product and design side of things, which actually I do enjoy that part. Being in our design meetings, taking the, my knowledge and our team's knowledge of the user and designing up what, the next iteration of the product should be, doing the user studies and then sending that on to the engineers.
Welcome to episode 162. If you're interested in the world of podcasting, you must have heard about Zencastr, an all-in-one podcasting platform. Its co-founder and CEO, Josh Nielsen, is my guest. This episode is all about how to react and what to do when the company that you started as a solopreneur and did not have any grand plan for starts outgrowing you. Josh was a victim of its success and had to quickly learn to navigate the entrepreneurial journey. And along came Bottlenecks, of course. John has seen the growth, gone through the pain of transition, and grown the company in ways he never imagined. He now understands the importance of recognizing bottlenecks. The question is, do you? If you want to unlock your business true potential, log on my website and take the Bottleneck Index. It's a free tool that will help you uncover your hidden bottlenecks and provide you with instant actionable feedback to tackle them. Available on my website, follow the link in the show notes. And now let's turn to the conversation. Hi Josh, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, I know that you started your career, I would say, in New Zealand. Then you went to Thailand. So basically, you were a digital nomad at first. I think like in 2014, and then you started Zencastr as a solopreneur, and you thought you would do it, as a solopreneur. And then you said the first time we met, you said the company outgrew me. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Can you explain what happened?
Yeah. I started the company, and for your audience who may, just to give some context, founder and CEO of Zencastr. We help podcasters record, distribute, promote, monetize, all those things. And, this company started 8 to 10 years ago, depending on where you want to slice it. So been a while in it now. But, initially I started the company with different goals in mind. We've gone on to raise venture capital, grow the team, and really scale up the product. But initially it was, very much a solo project. It was something that was sort of intended to be a lifestyle business for, myself and my family. And I guess I just picked the wrong niche and to go after, because as I was building Zencastr, podcasting got really popular, and it wasn't that way when I started. And so it just got to be too many people were using the app, too many support requests were coming in, too much product needed to be built, too much maintenance. And it got to the point where I was a major bottleneck in the company because I was trying to do everything. And I also had to shift and realign my goals, because initially the goals was, make enough money for me and my family, be geographically independent, financially independent, and then achieve that fairly early on. And then it just kept growing, and had to figure out, okay, how do we realign, not only, bring in team members and get the resources and the team that we need to support the customers properly, but realign the mindset behind the business and what the goals of the business were, and expand that out from something that was I guess you could say fairly, I don't know if self-centered is the right word, but it was very much about like,
you said it. It's a lifestyle business. It's what I do myself. It's how I define my business.
Yeah, not in a bad way, but that was kind of how I was thinking about it. And then we had to say, okay, now we've got the opportunity to, expand the umbrella of the benefits of the business to the team members that we're bringing in by, giving everybody stock options and things like that. And also expand that out to the creators as well. Like, why not help the podcasters figure out how to become independent and monetize their audience and be able to do what they love for their work as well. So yeah, that was in a nutshell, that was kind of several years of transition.
Yeah, so you were a victim of your own success. It's kind of a good problem to have.
Yeah, not complaining at all, but it wasn't necessarily an easy transition. It was, somewhat difficult.
What was difficult about it?
Good question. It was not so much that I just had set those goals arbitrarily of kind of starting small and staying small with the business. It was that I'm frankly not very good at managing people and being, rising above all of, I'm not a very good, what do they call it? Tasks. So I'm not good at shifting context, shifting tasks, multitasking. There we are. I don't enjoy multitasking either. I like to have something that I can dig into and have the time and the space to not only dig into it, but to get into the zone in order to dig into it. And that becomes a lot harder when you're jumping between meetings and in more management style positions. I also just really enjoyed the coding part of building the product. And so that was, transitioning and saying, okay, those days are gone. And now I got to do all this other stuff, like deal with payroll and legal and, all the not fun stuff. It's tough to kind of find that space.
Yeah. I sense you've faced many bottlenecks.
All the time.
So today, what are the goals of the company? Oh, what is the big dream?
I think kind of where we landed is we want to not only create a great company and lifestyle for myself, but for the team and also for our creators. And that means making it really easy for them to create and make it so they can do the fun part and not have to worry about all of the other minutia that's involved in creating a podcast. So automating away all of the, busy work and then making it quick and easy for them to find an audience. And then also give them a really wide array of great monetization options, whether it's a backer program or programmatic advertising or, doing cross promotions with other creators, whatever it is. I think really, if you look at what YouTube has done for creators and the opportunity that you have, like anybody, if you're good enough, can go onto YouTube, and these guys are, making multi-millions. And why couldn't or shouldn't it be that way for more podcasters? Right now, there's a few podcasters that have really risen to the top, but they've got teams of people around them, and a lot of resources and money and time goes into that. Not everybody has the resources or the know-how to build the teams to do the things to actually give you a chance at breakout success. And so that's really a big goal of ours, is we want to be able to be that platform that makes your podcasting dreams come true, as well as, we're also expanding. A lot of people are podcasters, but they're also, social media people, they're not just podcasters. They're trying to build their voice and their message across social media, even, like public speaking, whatever. And so we've decided to expand to help inside and outside of the podcast part of your content marketing strategy. So, and even if you don't have a podcast, if you just want to create great audio and video clips and put them on social, we help with that. And so I think just really just paying attention to that creator who's using our product and figuring out what all the problems they are, knock them all out of the way, and give them all the tools and the tips and the tricks that all of the big, super successful creators are, putting that in their pockets and letting them run with it is, in a not so small nutshell, kind of how we're thinking about the business now and the future.
So to give us an idea, how big is the business today?
We do thousands of recordings a day, have tens of thousands of monthly active users on the platform, active hosts, and then if you count their guests, even more. So, we're a significant part of the current and future of podcasting, and then beyond.
And if you can think about the growth of your company since you started as a solopreneur to where you are now, can you help us identify like some of the key milestones?
As I think about the growth of the business, I think the first milestone was getting the product launching an open beta of the product. Then I think the next major one was actually getting it launched and then getting traction, which we can talk about if you want. And then the next one would be getting to monetization, because I launched it and ran it for almost like 2 years just as a free service on the side while I was working out the bugs, figuring out what the value prop was, and frankly, just getting the billing system built so that I could charge. And then the next, I guess, major milestones would be, I'm going through like 8 years of history here, but initially when we launched the product, it was very MVP. Like you actually were still supposed to use Skype. This is before Zoom was even really thought of, if it was around, I'm not sure. And then you would open Zencastr alongside it, and it would simply record, and it only recorded audio. And so it didn't manage the real-time call. You still had to do that on Skype, or you could even do a telephone call if you wanted. Both sides would open Zencastr, record that way. So progressing that on to where you can have the whole call inside of the app itself. Adding video was a major milestone. There was many. There's it depends on how you want to slice it, but there's
well, let's talk about it.
Was a big one as well.
Yeah, but let's talk about it, that those milestones that have really changed the course of the company.
I think might as well talk about fundraising was one of those big ones, because it fundamentally changed the course of how the business was going to be able to operate moving forward. And there's pros and cons to that, right? We got millions of dollars of resource to build a big team, to build out, build product faster, have different, departments for, start doing machine learning, start up our machine learning team so that we can do transcriptions for the content and all that. But then, it's also the other side is you've got pressure you're on a treadmill now, they give you, roughly 18 months or 2 years of money at a time. And then when you get to that end of that runway, you've got to either be profitable or be able to raise more money or something in between there in order to continue as you go. And so, and their goal is obviously they're investing in you because they think you've got a chance at becoming $1 billion business. And so, there's the expectations are high. And it changes. You're definitely not a lifestyle business anymore. And you've got sort of this imperative to go out and, capture market share, bring in a lot of money, be growing fast. And so, that was a big shift.
How much did you raise, if I can ask?
About $4.5 million in our seed round.
What was the most difficult, or what has been the most difficult part for you so far?
I think learning to grow with the business, we're learning and wearing new hats. You can't. While I'm at heart a software engineer, I don't really code anymore with at all, really, because I would just be getting in the way. We've hired people that are way better than me, and I don't have the time to focus on that entirely. And so I would just be taking tickets and taking too long to get them done, and like blocking the progress and stuff like that. And so I've had to, learn to wear new hats, and just, learn to do more boring stuff. You can't always do the fun stuff. And then also just been spending more time on the product and design side of things, which actually I do enjoy that part. Being in our design meetings, taking the, my knowledge and our team's knowledge of the user and designing up what, the next iteration of the product should be doing the user studies and then sending that on to the engineers.
It's funny hearing you talking because most of the entrepreneurs I talk on this show, they want to grow the business. They're really hoping for it. And for you, it's a bit of different. You were like thinking of having this lifestyle, and then it fell on you, and you had to deal with that. It's not a common story, I would say.
Yeah, I guess the grass is always greener, isn't it? Like, and I'm not at all trying to complain, but yeah, it was a difficult transition, and it still is. It still is something I'm, trying to get on top of in a better way.
Well, let's talk about that, because this show is about bottlenecks. So what are some of your current bottlenecks at the moment?
As a business, I guess there's a few things. Like, we recently added hosting service. Recently, it's been a year now, and we've got these monetization options. And so bringing people over into our hosting so that we can help them monetize through programmatic is something that we're really interested in doing. Already helping, in the inventory side, millions of downloads a month monetize. But what we found is that it's actually quite hard to get podcasters to move their podcasts from their existing host, wherever that may be, especially if they're already monetizing with someone else. And so trying to just figure out how to make that transition easier and faster for people, just because there's a lot of fear around what happens if I switch. Am I going to lose my audience? I don't know how it works. There's just a lot of questions around it that, prevent people from just be like, all right, let's do it. So just getting a quicker, building out of the inventory and the monetization side of things has taken a lot longer than we had hoped, from not only getting people to switch their inventory over to us, but also as getting plugged in with the right programmatic partners that are going to be the right fit for our types of creators. We went through several different options that either didn't work or there's technical stuff, and everything just takes longer than you hope. So that's one of the things that I think we're now sort of opening up more on that, but that's been a bit of bottleneck. The other side would be, I think, just marketing in general. We're not none of the, executive team are marketers, and that's maybe advantageous in the early days because, in the early days, you really just need to build a lot of get the product built, and then you can market it. Now we're past that. And so trying to figure out how we incorporate a good marketing strategy that is also founder led. I think it's quite hard to just hire somebody and say, go out there and market this. They don't have the context. They don't maybe have the same skin in the game as the founders. They haven't been spending the last 8 years taking in this market and understanding the users and all of that, unless you find a really special person. And so, because we've tried to kind of do that, and what we found is it's very hard to make that work. But the other side is hard to do is make a couple of founders who aren't marketers be really great at marketing. And so figuring out how to thread that needle on both sides. And one of the great things is we know a lot of podcasters. And so part of the reason why we're doing stuff like this is, hey, why not work with our community and the people and in the podcasting space to, share our message.
Yeah. It's interesting what you're talking about, you have the difficulties to recruit a marketer because of the lack of experience that you have as a founder. Me as the bottleneck coach, immediately I sense a little bit of this inability to let go.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard. I mean, I think that's a great way to put it, because it wasn't all. On one side, it's hard to just I don't want to manage people or bring on a bunch of team members because of that, but the other side is how do you actually let go, as you put it? And that was really hard on the code side of things, and then on initially, just because I used to do customer support, and on the weekends I would code because I was too distracted with that, and then I was doing all of the user study, I was doing all of it. And then the trick I found is, if you can find someone that you just know is better than you at whatever it is, then you're not racked with worrying like, oh, are they doing it right? Are they doing it right? You're like, I mean, I'm glad they're doing it because they're doing it better than whatever I would have done. And so then you can kind of say, well, I don't even, my involvement might be just be a negative thing here. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
so that's easier said than done. It's very hard.
Yeah. No, it is. This is the most difficult part of all, on the show. I've been talking to many entrepreneurs. It's always the most difficult part is letting go and delegating, because they are tied together. And I think it comes down to what you were saying there, the being able to find someone who is really better at you.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's very difficult to find those type of people. I agree. But it doesn't mean that you should not stop looking for them.
No, exactly. And that was maybe one of the biggest milestones of the businesses was bringing on my co-founder. So I brought him on after where the business was already profitable. I think we were at like maybe $1 million in annual recurring revenue. So it's not like, so he was sort of a late joining co-founder, but I was just bursting at the seams with trying to deal with everything and not doing a good job of delegating, not doing a good job of finding the right people and growing the team. And he is just that other side of things where he's also an engineer, but he's really good at management. He knows how to hire great people. He's a much better multitasker. Like all the time, I laugh because I'll be having a conversation with him and I realize he's writing an email while we're talking, and he can do both things. I can't do that, So he's just one of those guys, and that was I think a real major shift. And the way because when you build an app and you find success, you have get people contacting you pretty regularly. Hey, especially if we're all word of mouth growth and marketing. So there's all these marketing guys like, hey, there's a lot of headroom on the marketing side. I could, let's join up and do this and that. And it's like, yeah, you're right. That's great. I don't know you. And I don't know how to get to know you in a way that I easily, on top of everything else that I'm trying to do right now. So it's just kind of a non-starter for those conversations. But my co-founder was a friend that I met at my very first startup. We became really close friends and just stayed in contact. Adrian Lopez, his name, he went to startup after startup. He actually became a member of the founding team in a company called Flipagram that got bought by ByteDance and rolled up into what became TikTok. And so not only did I have a strong relationship of trust with him, is highly skilled. He'd also kind of been in the company that went through all those stages of what Zencastr had in its future at the time. And so he kind of knew what that playbook was moving forward. And so I brought him on as a late joining co-founder, and yeah, one of the best decisions the company ever made. Cause he was a lot of the things that I'm not, and just really dedicated, diligent, smart, and experienced person. And finding that and in a way that you can trust is, it's worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. What have you learned about yourself, during your entrepreneurial journey? A journey that is not over, of course.
Yeah.
So far.
Oh, man. That's a good question. I think that, one of the things, I think about what I might do next. And maybe I'm just a little bit, sometimes when you're so far inside of it, it's hard to kind of see outside. But I think I've learned that I'm interested in a more peaceful way of life. Having something where there's always fires burning and there's always, the stress of, problems and having to grow and setbacks, and it's just a real roller coaster, and really glad that we're taking the swing. But man, it's hard. It's not nearly as easy as I thought or hoped it would be going into it. I guess that's it's maybe not what I've learned about myself, but what I've learned about maybe building businesses more so is, there's a lot of, you got to love solving all these problems because it's just what you're doing all the time. And so coming to peace with that, trying to figure out how to, have a lifestyle that sets you up and how to position yourself in the business in a way that you're playing to your strengths and not kind of getting pulled in all kinds of different directions all the time is the challenge. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but that's where the question led me.
I hear, you know what, between the lines, I hear resilience. That's what I hear. You build resilience. Because it's true, being an entrepreneur is so damn difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or not.
Exactly. Yeah. And that, what they say though is true. I think, building a business is what do they say? Building a business is always going to take all of your time. So you might as well build a big one as opposed to the small one, which there's pros and cons to that a little bit, but I do get this sentiment. Like, it has always just taken all my time. I mean, that's one of the things I maybe, or how should I put it? There's always more to do than you have time in a day to do it is maybe a better way to put it. And so learning how to manage that and with family, one of the things I've learned to do better, I'm not perfect at this, is there's always going to be a fire that needs to put out. There's always going to be something that should have been done yesterday. There's always going to be that. And I used to use that as excuses to say, I can't do X family thing or take the kids to whatever because there's this big thing going on and we got to get this done. And I used to think that would, like, if I got to that next thing, then I would have more time to come back and, spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be that reason why you couldn't or shouldn't. And so sometimes you just have to say, like, some of the fires are going to burn and I got to spend time with my kids regardless.
Absolutely, because your kids will continue growing and you might miss those moments. And you will regret it later.
Yeah, especially when they're young. Like, you miss 3 or 4 days and you might have missed an entire developmental stage that you've gone through if you're not, really paying attention. So that's one of the regrets that I have, and I'm trying to be better at that now.
I have the same, and I was not my kids are older now, and I was not an entrepreneur at that time. I was running companies, but I was like always busy, from one peak to the other, never stopping. And that comes at a cost to your personal life, to your personal life. I did a burnout. So yeah, I like to say, it's only a job. That's what I learned in a management course. Like, remember, it's only a job. I think that also applies to entrepreneurs. It's only a job. Yes, it's your sweat and tears. Yes, it's your baby. But at the end of the day, perhaps there are other things that are more important, like life.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're, one thing that was kind of sobering for me was realizing that whether you make a ton of money, you could this could be $1 billion business, or it could go bankrupt. That's a possibility. And how am I going to feel if I take all that time away from my family and my kids, put it all into something that in the end doesn't actually work out? And then it's like, man, that's not a good trade-off. But even if it does make a ton of money, it's still not a good trade-off. And so, but yeah, I didn't always think about it like that. And
but it's tough not to think. It's tough not to think about it like that, because again, it's your thing. You're building something. You're passionate about it. That's why you're doing it. You want it to succeed. You have people under your charge. I mean, it's really complicated.
And I think part of the part you don't always want to admit to yourself is sometimes you'd rather be doing work than family stuff, and then it's even easier to say, oh, I can't, I've got to do this, just because, like I said, I'm not great at context switching, and when I'm in it at work, it's easier to just stay in something than it is to switch to go pick up the kids from school and make them a snack and then come back or whatever, and so I'm guilty of that.
For sure. For sure. Okay, we're coming to the end of this episode. Just two more questions. The first one is taking into account all your experience. What is the one practical recommendation that you would give to other entrepreneurs?
It really depends on at what stage, but one practical, tell me if this works or not, but I've done some calculations recently that, Zencastr would not exist if I hadn't learned how to get it off the ground on my own. There was nobody that was going to give me money. I didn't have money to pay anybody else, but I learned to be an engineer. I learned enough about, design and just enough about marketing to get it off the ground, and probably saved myself somewhere between like $300,000 to $500,000 that you would have had to spend if you were trying to hire the team to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between having the business and not having it for someone at that stage. So I guess, really take the time to educate yourself on those things that you need to get something off the ground, or else you're always going to be beholden to somebody else to give you permission or money or resources to do something and start it, which is very hard to do when you don't have a track record and you're new and young and all of that. So, I guess read a lot of books about how to do this stuff yourself, because that can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars and actually give you the possibility of starting something.
Absolutely. And then when you grow, the company grows, stop doing them. Otherwise, you become the bottleneck in the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So one last question. How can people contact you?
I'm Josh at Zencastr.com. I'm also at Josh on the web on Twitter. And obviously, you can come to Zencastr.com and check us out if you're doing any audio, video, podcasting, recording.
Excellent. Well, Josh, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Laura.
And thank you for listening. If you found this episode useful, then you're going to love this. I've put together a free online assessment that I call the Bottleneck Index. You answer a series of key questions around your working habits, and it gives you your bottleneck score along with some practical recommendation on how to thrive as an entrepreneur. Just visit my website and take it for free. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.